Peace, family, friends, and neighbors. I am your one and only Leonidas Hamza, and this is Superposed Broadcasting. As promised, I would make an herbal week. My decision came down to last weekend that I would go ahead and make a part 1 and part 2 of each herb. And the reason for this is because, well, there's a lot of information. I can go 30 minutes, 40 minutes, probably 2 hours into describing an herb or talking about the energetics and from all the different systems and all these different, all the origins of an herb. So, long story short, I'm going to make a very simple video, and then I'll make a nice, drawn out, intentionally drawn out video going deeper into the herb. And today's deep discussion, deep dive is regarding Blue Lotus. So, Blue Lotus Part 2. Here we go. I made a video regarding Blue Lotus because I like coffee. And as much as I like coffee, coffee is not healthy. It is a stimulant, caffeine. It's a vasoconstrictor, meaning it constricts the blood vessels in the brain. So I know the downsides of coffee, and I fast from it often. If I start drinking coffee, and what I mean by that is because I fast from coffee. I will fast from the caffeine for a few weeks. I'll usually go 3 weeks fasting from it, and then I'll go ahead and pick back up. Not all the time, but often I do, especially with how busy life is and how many things I'm doing and juggling. I'll start drinking coffee, and usually I get carried away with it for a couple weeks or so. But when I stop drinking coffee, as anybody would feel if they stop drinking coffee, that is the irritation, agitation, the headaches, and there's a lot of things you'll feel from coffee withdrawals, caffeine withdrawals, really, because your body went from being in a state of fight or flight for a long time, and now it's trying to balance itself back out. You went through vasoconstriction, and now you're going through vasodilation, meaning that the oncotic pressure is substantially higher. You have a rush of blood going into your cranium, into your brain, and causing headaches. Also, because during the time that most people drink coffee, they should drink a glass of water with every glass of coffee they drink. So dehydration becomes a key factor. Coffee creates heat excitation, as I explained in the last video. Again, heat is drying. So dehydration in water, H2O, and dehydration in lipids, fats and oils. So I went ahead and I made a video about Blue Lotus because for a long time I would really struggle when I drink coffee. One glass of coffee, a small glass. Well, I have to drink it early. I have to drink that glass before 9 a.m. because if not, I will be awake until 11, 12 o'clock at night. I don't like being up late. I like to go to bed early, and I like to get up early. It's healthy to do so, and it's just my preference. People do what they want to do, but this is my preference. So I've really looked into everything I have regarding my personal materia medica or my personal herbal library. I don't know if materia medica is specifically somebody's brand or capstone, I guess. I don't know. But my herbal library, I went through it and I tried different things. And passion flower, valerian. And what I really found was that blue lotus, because it's very cooling and the energetics behind it allowed me to wind down at night. It brought my mind from this upper subtle realms. So instead of my mind being out there in space, Sacred Blue Lotus brought me down back to reality. Shut my mind off. One thing I have a hard time doing, even when I don't drink coffee, my mind is always going. I have numbers running through my mind, thoughts, ideas, comments, questions, and concerns. My mind's always going. My mind goes crazy. So when I do coffee, it's like I become Flash up inside here. And sometimes I have to really intentionally focus and intentionally do things slowly, because otherwise I'll be all over the place like Flash, and physically, mentally, and spiritually. And all that does is exert myself. Something else to understand is that caffeine, coffee, it doesn't give you energy. It borrows energy. Your body stores things, not things. Your body stores energy. It stores vitamins and minerals. Your body stores fats. Okay? And coffee depletes those storages over time. And that's why eventually you need more and more coffee, such as myself right now. I went from drinking a small coffee for 2 weeks, and then I, every other day, drink a medium coffee. I do my best to stay hydrated. And I will say, if you try to stay hydrated with a glass of coffee, make salt water. Drink a glass of salt water with Celtic salt. But again, I'm not here to give medical advice. I'm not a doctor. I am considerably a family herbalist. That is the certificate I have. Perhaps I should take that certificate and put it in a frame and hang it behind me. I don't want that title to it has its benefits, the paper and so on. It proves one's validity and their understanding of a topic or field of study. So, but I don't want it to be an egotistical thing. When I finish my course for like the master herbalist, I would much rather have the title family herbalist than to be called a master herbalist. I said before, to be a master herbalist, that's an egotistical title, because herbalism is a lifetime study. You are a student for life. Okay. You have to, there's so much to understand. And just because I'm always a student, I'm a lifetime student, and I don't know everything, it doesn't mean I don't know what I'm talking about. It just means that there's thousands of herbs. There's thousands of plants on this planet. There's many different herbal systems. There's many different perspectives in which I'm trying to build a bridge between, actually. And this has allowed me to, by looking at Western physio-medical states, traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, and biochemistry, along with traditional African herbalism, it has allowed me to advance a lot quicker, I believe, than some herbalists, per se. Because I have seen that all these metaphors and all of these different things. I mean, biochemistry isn't a lot of metaphors. It's a bunch of scientific facts that were theories and other scientific facts, but biochemistry takes a lot of this mystical, spiritual perspectives and metaphors of these herbal systems and presents them as factual. So it takes it from being a metaphor to and presents it as a fact, as a scientific fact. Like I said, for example, chakra system. The chakra system is a system that really primarily focuses only on the 7 chakras, from root to the crown. But when you look at the research in the chakra system is yet again, it's the ganglia clusters, a bunch of neurons, nerve endings, and so on, that's clustered. But anyways, Sacred Blue Lotus. So, this is my plant of choice. I often take a tincture. This isn't my product. This is a product I use from a store that's local. A tincture. And it's called Sacred, I believe, because it has come all the way from back in the Egyptian times. And most likely before the Egyptian times. And what I have with me, I thought show and tell might be really cool today. As I said, I like to not only take the tincture, but I like the flower. She's smashed, but she's very pretty when she's a big flower. This is the Blue Lotus flower. And, ironically, this blends into my shirt. I did not plan that. But that's the flower. Okay. There's her little hairs. It's a beautiful flower. There. I realized the little hairs I was trying to show is not on the... Isn't that fascinating? But the leaves are beautiful. Violet purple. I don't want to lose any of this. But this, I love making this as a tea at times. Tincture has a different... When you make a tincture has alcohol soluble constituents, and then you have tea, which has water soluble constituents. And so you get a lot of volatile oils, which is why you need to cover your tea, because if you don't cover your tea, those volatile oils will escape through the steam of your tea. But here. That is in a plastic bag. Ignore that. That's the way the local herbal store sells their product. I'm not sure if it's cost effective. I typically take my herbs out of it. No judging on their part. They do an awesome job here ordering herbs and supplying herbs to the local community. I believe they have hundreds of options there, which is awesome. I used to work there, and my favorite part of working there was working with the herbs, filling the herbs. I almost felt like I had to fight a friend just to fill the herbs sometimes. She loved not being in the front of the store. Who could blame her? Anyways, show and tell's over. That is the Sacred Blue Lotus, a profound plant of the upper subtle realms, and it's historically revered by the Egyptians as a vehicle for divine consciousness. So this is deep restorative sleep and sacred dreaming. So this sacred dreaming would be lucid dreaming. So this takes you and puts you into theta, basically. I think it's theta that puts you into hypnotism state. So rather than acting as a heavy sedative, it operates as an anxiolytic. I believe it's called. And anxiolytic is a sedative, hypnotic, or it's a drug that they use to slow down the brain activity, as I said. And that's why I chose it, not just because of those medical claims. I chose it because of its energetics. But this is what it has been used for since the great Egyptian time. So, when we go and we abuse our body with stimulants, we abuse our nervous system, and we're in a state of fight or flight, it affects our rest and digest as well. And this is why I chose this herb too, because it allows my body, before I go to bed, to get out of fight or flight, not just to sleep, but it gives my cells and my tissues and my organs the chance to turn off, wind down from the excitation, and to rest and digest. Sleeping is important because there's different variables of time in which your body cells and your systems, they essentially are detoxing through the night, eliminating pathogens and eliminating cellular waste and eliminating so macro and micro waste. You got micro waste moving through your colon, your small intestines and large intestines. Everything, it has a time in which it clocks in and clocks out. So, again, this is why I chose Sacred Blue Lotus. It is a vasodilator, so it allows you to have blood properly circulating to the brain while you're sleeping as well. I have a lot of theories regarding coffee, but I can't make these medical claims, and that's part of the purpose of conscious healing, is that we're not only going to turn ourselves into a clinic, it's going to become a research facility. And I'm going to really look into how coffee affects. I would like to know the connection between coffee, if there is a connection. I'm not making a claim. This is not a claim. This is just hypothetical. But I wonder if there's a connection between coffee and Alzheimer's, and coffee and dementia. I won't get it too far into it because it will be taken that I'm making a medical claim, and I can't have that happen. Okay, so let's get into the Western tissue states of the four energetic matrix of the first of the systems of the herbal system. So we can start with Western tissue state lens, the physiomedical state of the West. The primary state is heat and excitation, which is coupled with dry torpor, which torpor is an overstimulated nervous system paired with mental burnout. Okay. See, coffee is coffee has some health benefits to it as well. So take that as you will. When coffee gets really awful for you is when people go and get coffee mixed with whipped cream and dairy, sugars, and they get all these concoctions. I love black. I like the taste of it. I like the warmth of it. But that's where coffee gets really dangerous. So it acts primarily on the nervous system and the Western tissue state lens. It has a gentle, relaxant, and nervine. It cools down neural over excitation, relieves smooth muscles tension. Smooth. So you have three muscles. You have the smooth muscles, skeletal muscles, and cardiac muscles. Smooth muscles is how the waters and such move through the body, like peristalsis. Peristalsis doesn't just happen in the colon, it happens in the stomach. Peristalsis, your stomach excretes and macerates everything, and it uses peristalsis to push everything down into your duodenum, and then duodenum into your colon, and so on. So, those are your three muscles, and I can't wait to get into my anatomy and physiology. That's going to be extraordinary. I'm not going to get into my anatomy and physiology videos until it's going to be a part of Know Thyself, but I'll get deeper into it when I get the physiomedical. I'm building physiomedical charts right now for the website. I mean, there might be well over 100 physiomedical charts, which I create. And I want to be able to have those charts present when I start really diving into, like, the three muscles. So, anyways, it calms acute anxiety. Okay, so this isn't, I'm not talking about severe anxiety, but acute anxiety. Anxiety is where, again, you can't shut off your mind, you can't wind down, you're overthinking things, and it really helps out with nervous palpitations, which again comes from coffee. Again, it comes from just having a long day where you're stressed out, you worked all day long, you can't stop thinking about work, you can't stop thinking about maybe something bad happened, something happened at work, something happened at your kid's school, maybe something happened in class for yourself or school for yourself. So it does all this by soothing a hyper-reactive, sympathetic nervous system. So again, it takes you to put you into, it takes you from fight or flight, and it puts you into sympathetic nervous system. So parasympathetic to sympathetic. And then traditional Chinese medicine, TCM, it basically calms the Shin. Shin is, not basically, but it calms. Shin is how I always say that. Basically, not basically. But anyways, Shin is spirit, and it nourishes the heart. Yin. You have yin and yang. Yin is the system, and yang is the fluids that move. So, in TCM, the heart houses the Shin. Again, it houses the spirit. A lot of esoteric beliefs are that the spirit resides in the heart. So Blue Lotus clears restless heat from the heart and liver meridians. Meridians are fascinating. This is why I really believe before you start looking at anything, you should look at your teeth first. I mean, even in your environment's drastically important, but your teeth are more important. That's the first thing that they look at when they look at livestock. And if we're going to be honest here, think about when you watch a movie about the times, I hate this, but when they were selling slaves, the first thing the white man does is he opens up and looks at the gum of the slaves. He looks at the teeth of the slave. The teeth and the gums of livestock and slaves, it tells the longevity of that individual. If they have healthy gums and healthy teeth, and the horse has healthy gums and healthy teeth, that means that they're going to be strong, they're going to have longevity, vitality. It is an asset to them instead of a, what's the other word? Liability, okay? Again, I'm using examples. I'm just being honest here. It's just the way that it is, or the way that it was, unfortunately. Thank God it's not the way that it is anymore. It almost seems like we're going back there, but unfortunately, and that's a whole nother conversation. I pray to God that we don't ever go back in time. But anyways, so it clears the restless heat from the heart and liver meridians. Meridians, again, meridians connect all the way to your teeth, all the way to vital organs. So it anchors a wandering and agitated spirit, eases insomnia, which is driven by overthinking, and promotes smooth flow through constrained channels. Okay, so that's the traditional Chinese medicine, TCM. Ayurvedic lens pacifies Pitta and Vata. Remember, there's Pitta, Vata, and Kapha. But here we're talking about Pitta and Vata. In Ayurvedic, it's cooling, and it's sweet, and even bitter, which is very true. It's not too bitter, but it is bitter, which is why I suggest when you make the tea to put honey in the tea, because it does have a bitter taste, depending on how long you steep it. Okay? So I don't recommend doing it more than 10 minutes. It's going to be very strong, very powerful. But bitter, energetic profile drops the fiery, inflammatory, the pitta conditions like the mental burnout, the anger, the heat-induced headaches that I talked about. The heat-induced headaches comes from vasoconstriction and vasodilation. Now, all of this while it anchors erratic and dry, mobile vata energy in the mind and the nervous system. So that is the Western, Ayurvedic, TCM, and then most importantly, the traditional African herbalism. So here, if we look at the primary state, we're looking at the spiritual and physical alignment, opening the upper portals of perception and clearing heavy atmospheric or emotional stagnation. Everything is about stagnation and atrophy. We have to open up those portals. It's just like, think about vasodilation. That comes back to biochemistry. Vasodilation causes stagnation because the valve is closed off. So now what isn't flowing smoothly or properly, it begins to stagnate and it slows things down. And now oncotic pressure begins to build up, and then we start to build up heat. And when you stop drinking coffee, if you stop drinking coffee, some people never take breaks from coffee. Some people just drink it relentlessly for years. And they wonder why they feel so miserable or cannot operate properly when they don't have a glass of coffee. A lot of people will tell you. And I myself will, after about 2 weeks of drinking coffee. I can't even function yet. I haven't had my glass of coffee. Okay. So, anyways, the mechanisms of Blue Lotus and traditional African herbalism, it utilizes within the Nile Valley tradition as a sacred entheogen and relaxant that bridges physical recovery with mental clarity. Okay, restoring equilibrium to the whole body by resetting the nervous baseline. And this just it's basically saying we are balancing the chakras, or we are balancing Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, or we are balancing the elements of earth, fire, air, and water, ether. We are balancing the physiomedical states. So, take it as you will. These are the systems, and this is my way of bringing an understanding to all of these systems, and just trying to show that they're all talking about the same thing. If you cannot see, just tell me, because we can go deeper into it. We can go into the constituents. We have nuciferine and afferin alkaloid. That acts as a dopamine receptor. It's a dopamine receptor blocker, and it's a mild vasodilator. Okay. When it comes down to addiction or craving or so on. It's not the caffeine we're craving. It's not the drug or the alcohol that we're craving. It's the dopaminic reward system. We are internally, externally, we only understand the substance. Internally, our body is craving the dopamine, in which is received. That's why you have, think about the word dope and dopamine. There's extreme similarities here. And the apomorphine is a non-selective dopamine agonist that acts. It acts on the central nervous system, and it induces calmness and euphoria. Okay, and this is the primary actions. It's a nervine relaxant. Okay, it's mild, hypnotic, sedative, antispasmodic, aphrodisiac, and even subtle microcirculatory opener, which again is a vasodilator. So these primary actions, though, is what you would typically read when you see a book like this, an herbal encyclopedia. When you scroll through here, I don't even think Blue Lotus would be in here. But when you scroll through here, you will see all of this stuff in here. And like in the beginning of it talks about anti. And you know me, as I've said before, if you listen to my videos, I don't care for the anti word. Anti-thyroidism, antidote, anti-phlogistic, I think, anti-tumor. I don't agree with those. That's not the way to look at it. This isn't anti. This isn't a pharmaceutical medication. Yeah, if you can only imagine. Doesn't look like Blue Lotus is in this book. I'm very curious, actually. Blue cohosh, blue vervain. Yeah, it is not in this book. There's a lot of herbs that should be in this book that are not in this book, which this is why this book is not my go-to. But it does have some information in there. It does have some great stories, if you could say, because it does tell you about, it goes back into how the folk medicine was used in practice way back when. But if we talk about the water-soluble constituents in Blue Lotus, there's active alkaloids that are slightly heat sensitive, which is why you want to be careful when you do steep this. You want low temperature preparations. So long infusion, you would steep 1 to 2 grams of the herb, which typically I do. I like to rip the petals off, tear the petals off the flower, but I also mix it with a couple other things. I mix that with passion flower and something else. So I don't really do 1 to 2 grams of it, but you do 1 to 2 grams of dried petal in hot, just under boiling water. And it's covered about, I like to do 10 minutes, but I would do anywhere between 10 to 20 minutes, which captures the volatile, aromatic, and soothing mucilage properties of this plant. You really don't want to lose those volatile oils. Those volatile oils is what's going to help induce that, that euphoria. Okay, the volatile oils is what's really important on the nervous system. The Egyptians did a wine infusion with Sacred Blue Lotus. which again, I believe that's why it's called Sacred Blue Lotus from the Egyptians. The traditional Egyptian method was the alcohol accent, which, if you think about wine, it's fermented fruit, so it is it's full of if it's made properly, and even though it's got alcohol content in it, it's prebiotics. Okay, yeah, prebiotics feed the probiotics, so prebiotics can replenish the microflora of the gut, which essentially, when you, as below so above, when you fix the microflora of the gut, you fix the neurological conditions of the mind. So the alcohol acts as an optimal solvent for extracting the nuciferine and apomorphine. Traditionally, the dried flowers are steeped in red wine for several weeks. I do believe, I'm trying to think here, it can be done for several days, but I always recommend doing it for several weeks, 3 weeks, if you really want to extract and make a powerful extraction. Several weeks. And it creates a restorative, what they call elixir, that relaxes the body, opens the mind, and takes you into that lucid dreaming. And that lucid dreaming is where you go into a deep hypnotic state. You're completely relinquished from fight or flight. And you now are completely separated from the body. It's fascinating because when you go to sleep, truly, you're no longer human. You're no longer, you're outside of space and time. Space and time is only prevalent in this form when you are in this vessel. But when you go to sleep, you can travel through space and time. Past, present, future. When you go to sleep, you can go beyond the third dimension, which is just up, down, left, right, simultaneously. Well, there you have it. We have part 2 of Sacred Blue Lotus. And this was certainly a 40-minute video that I'm happy with, because this plant deserves the deep understanding of itself, because it has been a plant that has been since the Egyptian time, ancient Kemet, and it still is in our textbooks, and that should be more known in the community. But again, I am Leonidas Hamza. This is Superposed Broadcasting, and I thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscriptions, the comments, whatever it may be. Leave something. Question me. Make me think. Challenge me. Tell me I'm wrong. I'm open-minded. I'm okay if I'm wrong. As I always say, I'm here to do what I can with everything that I know to present to you with every bit of information that I possibly can give you, everything that I have learned over the last 13 years. I'm willing to share it with you. Again, what I say may not be, it is not the whole truth. Herbs are not medicine. Herbs are nutrition. What I say and what I give you is only half truth. It only becomes full truth when you do your due diligence and research what I say and what you hear. I am only here to just help you open your mind and to think outside the box and to think for yourself. I promise you, however, I am not feeding you false information. I am not sitting here manipulating you. I am only showing you that my gates are open. I have no intention of gatekeeping knowledge. A part of what I am doing is advertising for conscious healing, of course, which will be launching January 2027. There's no gatekeeping here. I plan on telling you as much as I can over the next 5 months, sharing as much as I can. There's going to be a lot of information before Conscious Healing opens. And then when the website launches, you can read about everything I'm talking about as well. I will have everything from all the different systems, the chakra systems, the library, from all over the world. I plan on having hundreds of herbs on the website that you could read about. I plan on having product available for you. I plan on offering, I don't like the word consultation. I'm not having consultations, but I will offer one-on-one conversations with people that just want advice, life advice, I guess. I am not a doctor, so I don't plan on ever giving medical advice. I don't wish to be a doctor. I am an herbalist. I consider myself more as a nutritionist than anything. I am here to tell you what I would do if I was in your situation. You can take it how you want to take it, and so be it. But thank you again. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, and basically, I will see you soon because I'm not going anywhere. So, peace out, family, friends, and neighbors.